Well, hey team, welcome into our July product release explained. This is super fun. We are really excited that you guys are here. I'm joined with two friends on the DroneDeploy team with Nick and James, a familiar face with James, who is on with us here in April, and Nick, who has joined us here on this session. This is going to be really fun, fellas. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. One, because what a hot topic, AI. If you didn't know about it, January 1, you do now. So this is going to be really fun, really excited. Thank you guys for tuning in with us here on LinkedIn Live. We are excited that you're here. One, send us a note, put a chat, tell us where you're tuning in from. We got a really fun list of things that we're going to go over today. But really appreciate you guys tuning in. Nick, I'd love, you're a newbie here, so would love for you to maybe talk a little bit about you, your background. And then James, I know you're old to this, so you've been here a couple of times. But Nick, would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, absolutely, Grant. I'm excited to be here. I'm the CTO at DroneDeploy, also one of the co-founders. And right now, most of my time is spent on computer vision and machine learning. It's probably the most exciting year in machine learning history, and it's only going to get better from here. So I'm really excited to be working on getting these products out to our customers.
That's a great intro. All I deal with is machine learning. I wish that does not any of our titles here. But James, you've been on here before, but would love for the folks that are new to us and tuning in this time, a little bit of background about yourself.
Of course, yeah. Well, I've been working on big enterprise products now for a long time, 14 years, but 7 of those I've spent at DroneDeploy. Actually, my 7th anniversary is in 5 days. Wow. And I run the product and design teams here. So we work on what we should build and what's most valuable for our customers.
Love it. Well, I am clearly the only one that doesn't have an awesome accent in this time. And so I will keep the speaking to a minimum on my end, one to highlight a lot of the fun stuff that you guys are doing. But thank you guys again for tuning in. This is going to be really fun. Just to kind of give us a little runway of what we're going to talk about. So if you haven't gone over and seen, we have 2 amazing things that we announced this July for our product release. James, give us a little highlight here before we hop into a little agenda.
Yeah. First, I'm going to say, Grant, there is so much more than just 2. But
I sold it short here.
These are 2 that we really wanted to draw attention to on the AI side of things. So first of all is we know that a lot of folks who are self-performing concrete will find big value in being able to do that pre-pour inspection using the DroneDeploy technology. But on top of that, we can actually now deliver you a report. So we can go and find all the sleeves, check their location, check the tolerance, check they even exist, and very quickly turn around a report for you. We're selling these in bundles. And so if you're interested in that, if that sounds like it could be helpful on your projects, please contact your CSM. And for those folks who are in the renewable industry, who are either developing or building large utility scale solar plants, we've begun offering the full utility scale construction progress tracking. And again, this is a very rapid turnaround because it's powered by some of these new models that we're going to be talking about, these new machine learning models. But every single day, if you want, you can have a report from DroneDeploy that gives you the progress in every single block of your construction project. And we're counting poles, racks, and modules.
Love it. More details in the comments thread if you are tuning in with us here. And so thanks for popping that out there, James. We are really going to get into these are the topics that we would love to cover. This has been just a crazy year, Nick. I love that you said this is probably the hottest year in this term of AI. It's not new for a lot of folks, but for, I would say, the common population of starting to use tools that have just totally transformed their lives, and some that we're going to talk about. These are just some of the topics that we wanted to cover. And so our hope would really walking away from this, one of the big core values at DroneDeploy is the idea of simplify. And so we thought that this would be a really great opportunity to help simplify this topic. Obviously, in general, for you guys to go have really constructive conversations and powerful conversations with those that you're working with, but then also to understand our product. That's a huge part of what we're trying to do, is continue to put stuff out there to help educate you guys just around what we're doing. And so we're going to have some fun. This is going to be really exciting. But to kind of switch things up, we got some good feedback from our April live that we did. of these, but we have some poll questions that we want to ask you guys. And so we're going to bring up a tool here just to help interact and engage with you guys that are out in the audience here. Is that when you think of AI, what like words come to mind? I think this is the question I really wanted to ask, because there's so many things that I think people think about. So pick up your phone, scan this QR code, let us know your thoughts. And I'm going to really kick it to you, Nick and James, like pre-2023, like what were the words that came to mind for you guys as you had kind of thought about this topic?
I think for me, it's really about productivity and efficiency. You think about using computers and using artificial intelligence to assist people in the jobs that they're doing. It really comes down to doing things more efficiently, more productively.
Yeah, I mean,
automate is a great one.
I think people will have been thinking about all kinds of things in this area, right from, oh, this is scary, this is going to take away my job, through, this is a tool, or this is something that's really more imaginary than real. And what we've also seen in the industry is a bunch of sort of AI washing. So everything is AI, when actually it's just a bunch of people sitting somewhere far away who are clicking around on a screen. What's different this year and what's really interesting is the actual power and accessibility of these machine learning models has advanced so rapidly that some of the things that we really thought were decades away a few years ago are coming very, very quickly, and the advancements every month are remarkable.
Yeah, well said. I love these words that are popping up here. This is actually really fun. We didn't know this was really going to work, so thank you guys for starting to engage in here. But yeah, I love some of these. One, the Terminator. Let's just be really honest. I think there's some maybe scary things that we've all been seeing, which is kind of fun and exciting too. But assistance, helpful, automation. I love that. Intimidating. That's an interesting word to kind of bring up here. Reduction of boring work. I think that's also a really good, hopefully a thing that we're all thinking about as we're trying to apply some of this stuff. So I love this. This is going to be great. We'll, again, put these in a little bit more of a post event wrap up here, because these are great. Thank you guys for sending this in. The next question I kind of want to ask a little bit is around kind of this impact. And you'll see this pop up on your phones if you're interacting with us here. But just how much has this kind of impacted your personal life and your work life? Because I think this is what's kind of fascinating, is some of the work that we've kind of really been seeing is really folks driving these conversations stemming from their personal life of like, man, I've seen how impactful this can be. I've seen how maybe I can try to apply this in more of a work sense or in the profession that I'm in. And so, Nick, I'm curious, maybe give us some kind of insight, because you've been in this for a while, but maybe walk us through a little bit of how that's kind of segmented from maybe your personal interest and personal life over to now, obviously, what we're doing here.
No, absolutely. I think this year in particular, you're just seeing AI appear in all products, and to help make those products more effective, to make them more powerful in what they can do. And that's why I kind of loved seeing automated appearing a bunch of times on the poll, because it really feels like that's the key objective here, is like taking tasks that are difficult, repetitive, boring, error prone, dangerous, and handing those off to some extent to a machine to achieve. And I think that's a really, really exciting future. And that's the way that we should be driving these products. But I mean, personally, I've seen impact in both. Certainly the way we work is changing with more of these products being powered by AI. And just the way we live in general and what we interact with is also a lot of AI is going to appear, tons coming next decade.
Totally. I actually thought this would be flipped. I'm not going to lie. I thought this was going to be a little bit more, hey, I'm seeing it more applicable in my personal life, and then transitioning over to my profession, which it's great. I love seeing it's above 3 out of this. I think it's a 5 scale here, but yeah, just really interesting to see here. And thank you guys again for interacting with us. This is just kind of a fun way to get your guys' feedback and kind of see where your guys' heads are at. So I'm going to switch back here to the presentation and really start to get into this, because this is what I think really a lot of you that tuned in with us here are really wanting to hear, is just around some of these ideas of how has this thing blown up and how has it just exploded. And so, Nick, I kind of want to kick it over to you a little bit and say, tell us a little bit about obviously some of these terms that we've seen on here and how they've just continued to grow in this short amount of time.
Yeah, I think what's really happened here is there's really been the sea change that we've seen in what the capability of artificial intelligence is, especially as it pertains to processing text and language. And this was driven largely by OpenAI, followed closely by a lot of other companies, and really based on a breakthrough that was made in 2017 on how to sort of train these larger and larger models more effectively. And we're seeing the benefits of that from so many companies. And it's not just around text. DroneDeploy, we deal with imagery. That's our kind of bread and butter. And we can reap the benefits of all this progress in artificial intelligence. And it's super exciting to see, because I think it's really exceeded the expectations of what a lot of people felt was even possible, or even possible in this amount of time. And that's why 2023 has just kind of been this boon of all these new companies showcasing this new technology, and that technology just trickling into every single industry. And that's why we want to take advantage of it. I think DroneDeploy, we were ready to see this happen for imagery, and we're going to use that to build some super exciting products that you're going to see now.
Yeah, and I know what's kind of confusing too is just this idea of like there's so many different terms here, right? There's AI and ML and CV, and like it's really kind of confusing. James, I'm curious to kind of hear a little of your perspective around it too. Like, how do you keep all these terms straight? Or like when you're describing some of this stuff in our product, like how are you kind of breaking it down for folks of almost like the different tiers of what some of these things are doing?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is in the past year, the thing that has become most interesting is that actually, rather than AI being a robot, which does autonomous, does those mundane tasks and gets that work done for you, we're actually starting to see AI be a creative force and be a creative partner to people in lots of different industries, whether it's in their writing, it's in summarizing lots and lots of information and coming back with a novel answer to that, or in even creating amazing imagery that has never been seen before, based on the works of all of humanity, which is crazy to think about. When we think about those terms, so that's when people say generative AI, that's often what they're talking about. They're talking about the ability to create new content effectively from a prompt or from very little input, and that's just that's a very special type of AI. But beyond that, there is this massive umbrella of artificial intelligence, which is in almost every product that you use. Things like your Facebook newsfeed, your TikTok. How does it recommend the next thing? When you're on Amazon, recommendations engine. You bought this, other people who are like you and buy the same things, also bought this other thing. These are all applications of artificial intelligence, and below that is the field of machine learning, and really you're going to hear a lot from myself and Nick, more talking about the machine learning side of things and the deep learning side of things, where really we're talking about the algorithms that power the products that end up being called AI.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And that's a really good segue kind of into this idea that there's like foundational things to understand in this bigger kind of sphere of AI in general. And I think that's really important. And I love this graphic. I don't know how or where it came to be, but it's really helpful. And as we were kind of coming up with this topic, and like I'm learning from you guys about just this topic in general and its impact on our product, like Nick, kind of walk us through this, because this is actually really helpful of like kind of when we think about machine learning and computer vision as a part of this bigger umbrella of AI, of like, hey, these are the foundational things that really help us kind of get to that point.
Well, I mean, like James said, you got this kind of top level concept of AI, which is just helping machines do things that we perceive as intelligence. And then one of the routes to get there, which is definitely the most prevalent and probably the route that we hear about and see in every product around us, is machine learning. So that's one way to achieve that, which involves taking data and kind of showing a machine the task that you're trying to achieve and letting the machine learn how to do that itself. So giving it examples and having a bunch of different algorithms that can understand what's going on and then ultimately be able to do that automatically. And that's definitely the most popular approach. And then going one level kind of closer to drone deploy, we start talking again about computer vision. And like I said earlier, in drone deploy, imagery is our bread and butter. So we're dealing with imagery, whether it's aerial images of a job site, orthomosaics, 360 photographs inside a job site. We're always dealing with imagery. But without any machine learning, an image is just a bunch of pixels, a bunch of red, green, and blue pixels. We don't really have any understanding of what is in the photograph. So what we're seeing here is what machine learning can really add at the most basic level to imagery. Because you've got a picture of a cat, but to a computer without any machine learning, it's just pixels. It's just some green pixels and some orange pixels and some white pixels. But then with machine learning, we can start to really understand what's in this image. And on the far left is the task of classification, which is just looking at that whole image and thinking, how do we put a label on this image? And here the label would be cat. And we can get more and more sophisticated as you go towards the right. For example, knowing that there's a cat in the image, we might want to understand exactly where it is. And that's this task of localization, drawing the box around the thing that you care about. And then going further across, we can obviously do that with more and more different objects, understand what they are and where they are. And that's the general task of object detection. And we do a ton of that within DroneDeploy. And then we can even go much finer resolution all the way through to segmentation, where we're understanding exactly the boundary of those different objects and what they are and where they are in an image. And if you think about not this sort of example image, but you think of an aerial photograph of a job site or a photograph inside a construction site, how valuable these fundamental pieces of technology can be and the sorts of products that can be built once you solve these problems well. So that's kind of one level down, machine learning and computer vision.
Yeah, I like what you said, because it's helpful to kind of understand it. Like ML and CV, or like machine learning and computer vision, are like really the roots of AI, right? Like you can't really just do AI without those as like kind of the core parts of what like is fundamental to the learning and to the just growth and pace in which things can develop. And so, James, I'm curious, as you're kind of like looking at what we're going to talk about here, like, okay, that's great. I think I understand some of the core like roots and how that impacts the product on the DroneDeploy side, but like, how does that? Like, what does that look like, and what are the things that we're using to generate insights from? Because we hear all the time, I just don't want more data. Data is not necessarily helpful. I need insights. And so, walk us through kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So Nick mentioned there, understanding every pixel, right? If the machine knows what every single thing is in every single image that's uploaded to DroneDeploy, well, there are a crazy number of things that we could do on top of that, right? If it knows what every part of a construction project is, it knows what every material is, it knows which item it is in a BIM model, you can go really deep and you can come up with some amazing insights. But what we've got on this slide, we've just got these 4 blocks. First, you'd need to do that understanding, right? You need to train the machine to understand what is in the images. And you start simple. You know, for us, we started just, is that water? Are those trees? Is that the ground? Are those buildings? Is that the sky? And that just on its own enables us to do some really interesting things with the 3D reconstruction quality, because we can remove the sky from the background, we can flatten areas that of water, and we can sharpen the edges of truss structures and metalwork, for example. But we can go way beyond that, right? If you know every single part of every interior image as well, you can start detecting where work is going on inside a building. You could look for anomalies and problems on top. So we start by understanding every pixel. That leads us into some fundamental improvements. It makes your 3D models crisper, makes our photogrammetry engine run faster and more efficiently. It allows us to remove man-made materials so that you can have these really nice digital terrain models where instead of just removing things based on what the point looks like in a point cloud, we actually are understanding that this is a car, this is a piece of excavator, and we remove the excavator rather than just removing a point. And I'll pause there, because then that moves us onto the insight side of things, and maybe Nick could
totally. And Nick, because I'm curious too, like this doesn't happen overnight, right? So I think what you said is like, hey, imagery is the bread and butter of what we do. We've been collecting it for many, many years, almost over a decade now, and from all over the world, all types of sites, all types of projects. Like, get into maybe this kind of third and fourth point here of like, all right, now we have the industry intelligence that we can apply to this. And then obviously, what does that look like in giving kind of our users access into like creating their own machine learning models based on what it is that they want to perform insights from?
Yeah, I think that's the key change that's happening in 2023, because those fundamental improvements and the machine learning that we've been doing that internally for many years. We've been using that to power, like James said, building the best cloud photogrammetry platform. But now 2023, we're really starting to move those capabilities and those products into the hands of our customers. So the industry intelligence, it really represents looking quite deeply at some of the more sophisticated tasks that our customers are having to do manually inside of DroneDeploy and really automating them. And you're going to see a nice look at two of these AI-powered reports that we mentioned at the beginning of the talk, the utility solar construction progress report and the concrete pre-pour verification report, both deeply powered by AI and able to take quite a sophisticated workflow that's quite tedious and very manual and sometimes even impossible to do, and automating that. And that's us sort of going really, really deep on these capabilities and saying, how do we deliver best-in-class products straight to our customers that really just solve their problem in one go?
Yeah, totally.
And then,
go for it. Sorry, keep going.
And I was going to say, on the custom machine learning, there's obviously going to be this long tail of problems that our customers want to solve on their job sites. Every job site is unique. Every job site has different things that our customers want to detect, track, count, monitor, assess for deviation. So we want to really put those capabilities in the hands of our customers, let them train their own machine learning models, deploy them on their own job sites, and be able to use them for their workflows. So we're kind of going deep on the industry intelligence reports, and there are going to be a bunch more of these reports appearing inside of DroneDeploy, but we're also going broad on the custom machine learning and letting our customers use those capabilities themselves on their job site.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like just democratizing all the like features that are in here, right? And I love what you said, because man, coming from the industry of construction, like every job is very, very unique and has just different challenges and things that you're wanting to visualize and track. But there's one thing you said in there that I think is key, because James, you talked about it in April of just like, hey, these three key pillars of what we're doing at DroneDeploy is unified, automated, and intelligent. And the automated part's interesting in that because a lot of people assume automated and robots and robotics and just, things and hardware moving around a job. But like, Nick, you were just talking about like the automated part of drawing insights. And that's where kind of automated and intelligence kind of overlap each other. But it's interesting. And I love kind of just us continuing to, beat that drum of saying, hey, like automation isn't just in the hardware. There are a lot of tasks within the tools that you use every day that we can help automate and cue the examples of what we're coming out here this month. James, anything you'd want to add to that?
Well, just one last thing is on this particular point, and we'll cover that on the next slide as well, is we don't know all the answers of how this could be applied, and where we've been successful over the 10-year lifespan of DroneDeploy is actually putting these powerful tools in the hands of our customers and letting the intelligent folks, the champions who actually know about their own industries, to actually go and apply them, and really following their lead. And so if you jump to the next slide, there are so many different examples that have already come up as we've been chatting to customers about these new capabilities. On the top left there, it's just finding penetrations through roofs. That used to be something that you'd need people to go and annotate, and it's relatively straightforward to train machine learning models to do that kind of thing. There's every single pump jack is highlighted with a purple dot in that second image, where that there are something like 3,500 of them, and they were found in 10 minutes by a machine rather than in many, many hours. And not only were they found, the exact location of them can be output. We can count trees. We can classify, the health of those trees. We could figure out the yield that you might get by understanding the volume of that tree in the 3D space. and and many, many more. So really, this whole concept for us is an opportunity for customers to invent, new use cases and new solutions, and as Nick was saying earlier, remove some of those laborious tasks and transfer them across to a machine.
Totally.
And I
I
think
think
this is such a nice illustration of that vision of understanding every pixel. Because you look at these images, if you took away all the overlays, like all the color that you see on top, you just got pixels there. And this is what we're really demonstrating: is this is that layer of insight, this is that layer of understanding, this is the machine learning at work, taking those detections, the segmentation, the object detection we talked about, and really putting it in front of the customer. And you go from pixels to counts, objects, things, tracking, progress, deviation, verification, all these much higher order things that are just so valuable on job sites.
Yeah, totally. And like when we're talking about like democratizing AI, right? Like that's kind of what we started at the beginning, right? Like that's how it got to be so, I think, popular and how impactful it's been is like you get this into the hands of people who are using it creatively in their own roles. Like it is going to absolutely take off and really start to have its impact in a lot of ways. And it's just cool that, I mean, these are so many different examples and industries that we serve. And I think, again, drawing kind of just to the two specific ones that we had here in this release, that's really kind of what I just want to talk about here a little bit, because just a queue up at the end of this, we have 2 webinars specifically over these topics. So we're not going to go deep into these things in particular, but I guess, Nick, kind of walk us through like the 2 that we obviously just announced here in July, like give us a little explanation of what we're going to kind of queue up for those webinars that we'll dive into this deeper.
Absolutely. What you're seeing here is some of the views of the concrete pre-pour verification report. So this is an AI-powered report that's responsible for detecting the concrete sleeves on a job site, aligning that to the overlay, and then performing verification, seeing which of them are out of tolerance, which of them are missing, and which of them are in the correct location. And this can be a tedious task. This can be time consuming. There can be a number of modes of failure of this. And this is where we can really showcase some of the AI and machine learning products that can really automate this, turn this into a super valuable report and put it straight in the hands of our customers. And this is going to like save money, save time, prevent issues further down the line on the project. I mean, maybe you can speak to this, Grant. Like, what have you seen happen when this goes wrong?
Oh man, when I heard that we were working on this one, there was so much excitement. It is about 150 degrees here in Texas right now, and it is impossible to just go and verify all these in a really efficient and really like effective manner. There's a lot of different methods out there. You can, laser scan these slabs. You can bring that into the model environment, do a lot of that comparison, many of which a lot of our customers are doing right now. And there are different tolerances on different levels of different types of inspections. But I remember always telling folks and continuing to tell folks this very simplest form of QA/QC on these slabs is truly just an overlay. There is so much power in taking just a tangible 2D overlay and overlaying that on top of an aerial map. And so when we were talking about this becoming a reality, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to absolutely blow up the way that folks are doing inspections, making sure, because the concrete phase of this life cycle is just such a vulnerable spot for issues that pop up down the road. You're putting, top and bottom track on these buildings and these slabs, and you realize that these sleeves are out of place. Now you got to come back and core or do X-rays on PT. There's just so many things that happen if this part of the life cycle of construction isn't right. And so, I think for a lot of folks that have been in these environments and know the challenge that it really is to do a really thorough check of these elements that go in slabs, I'm guessing and hypothesizing that this will be a pretty innovative way to go about doing that. And so, James, I kind of want you to maybe hit on maybe the second one of really the solar construction side of it too, because different industry, but yet similar needs to do a lot of these checks here. And so I think Nick, he might have just popped out. And so let me get James back in here.
I can talk to this one.
No, that's all right.
This is great. I mean, if you think of a utility solar construction progress project, you're tracking stages of progress across different blocks of these sites. And these sites can be massive, 100 megawatts, 200 megawatts, 270 megawatts, huge sites. And typically within each of these blocks, The various stages of construction are ground screws or piles or poles, and then horizontal racks to support the PV modules, and then the final installation of the modules. But for sites this size, to be able to get a one view overlay of really understanding progress, how progress is changing, and what state of progress has happened at any point on the site, at any date, is such a valuable asset to have. And again, this is be incredibly tedious to do manually. But computer vision, machine learning, and the models that we've trained to support this task, again, it just adds that other layer of insight. You can see on the left, that image is just the aerial view of the job site. Very powerful, very compelling, but when you overlay that with all the machine learning information, which is what you see in the middle image, you can understand very clearly what stage of progress each block of this project is at. And that, again, we want to put that power, that final deliverable, straight in the hands of our customers without any manual work or any intervention.
Yeah, and I think that we talked about earlier, just like the value of understanding every pixel. And James, maybe kind of give some perspective from your side of it with the solar construction applications too, because maybe a little outside of my wheelhouse, but can imagine and see these, huge sites that just tracking the installation of this, like you said, Nick, is just so powerful. And to be given in a report, which I think that's oftentimes overlooked too. It's like, hey, when this can show up on your desk the next day and you can start to make really actionable, insights from, that's where it really starts to get pretty powerful.
That's right. What's not sometimes obvious is the immense size of these projects, and just as a single individual who's ultimately project managing this amazing piece of work, you can't be everywhere, and you have to trust a lot of people who are passing information to you. With this kind of reporting, suddenly you have that 30,000 foot view, almost literally 300-foot view of every single thing that's going on. And not only that, you don't have to look everywhere, it's already summarized for you. And so you can identify problems and be precise and follow up in specifically the areas that there is risk. I think it's going to change the way that these work. Sorry, was I breaking up?
No, the size of these sites too. I mean, I've visited a few and just like, it is unreal how large these sites are. I mean, I'm sure many folks that, go fly over some of these when they're traveling, like it is ridiculous how big these are. And so, yeah, anytime that size and scale really gets brought up, and just the ability to be able to inspect things on the ground too with these too, which this isn't a ground conversation to add in that front, but yeah, there's so much value of being able to pair this with, hey, what's actually happening on the ground and the ground truth to what's being needed to be inspected underneath some of these solar panels too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we literally. Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, these two reports just cleanly support those three pillars of the vision. Automated, unified, intelligent. Like, you're seeing very clearly the intelligence and the unified aspect of having the ground data, having the aerial data, all in one platform. We're not requiring our customers to go off and use 3 or 4 different pieces of software or different tools. They can do all of that in one piece of software in DroneDeploy. And whoever's responsible for assessing progress, that person turns into a superhero because they're able to do that themselves. And when one person is able to present this report for a 200 megawatt site for progress over years of construction, that's incredible.
Yeah, well said. James, you had something there? I love when we're interrupting ourselves.
I was just going to say, we're seeing the automated bit. It's coming, right? We've got multiple customers now who are running docked drone solutions, and that's going to be really the future of this kind of analysis. You just have a drone on site; it will fly on a schedule. You might get a report multiple times a day. And that's not really any problem because everything is fully automated end to end, and the results just not only do they appear in your inbox, but they also appear on your Power BI dashboard. Maybe you have at your company, or they get pumped into Procore Analytics or something along those lines. And then on the ground, we've got robots that are involved then in the O&M side of solar. So great, you're going through commissioning. And you need to inspect. There's cameras on robot mowers these days that are able to capture quite a lot of information from the ground, and so you're going to see more of that all in one place.
Yeah, and I think you're hinting at really the next slide, and then we're going to kind of transition to some Q&A here. Is just Okay, like what does this look like on the inside? So obviously, DroneDeploy and a amazing company called Struction Site came together, was really focused on a lot of interior capture. But like, what does machine learning look like on the inside? Because now you're talking about up, down, left, right, not just a top-down perspective. And Nick, I'm going to kind of toss this one over to you because there are so many elements inside of buildings that are changing every day, and to be able to capture those, classify those, do different things off of them, like walk us through kind of what we're seeing here a little bit to give kind of some folks of like, all right, you're excited about these reports and the things that we're doing outside, but just wait. There's a lot of amazing things that are going in yeah, just to kind of walk some folks through this one.
Yeah, just wait and see what's coming soon. I think what's really exciting here is as you get inside the construction site, the imagery gets a lot more sophisticated. And here we're showing 14 different divisions of work that are visible within an image that's collected from a 360 walkthrough in DroneDeploy. And here I think is where DroneDeploy is just uniquely positioned to build the best products, just because we have so much data from our customers' job sites. And whether it's interiors or exteriors, it's all arriving in the platform. And it's perfectly positioning us to build these sort of products. So you can imagine how this can turn into a very sophisticated, very powerful dashboard for assessing what work has been done and what work is in progress and what has changed on a job site per walkthrough, per image. So we're super excited about this, and it's just showcasing some of the capabilities of the machine learning solutions that we have inside DroneDeploy and what's starting up now.
Yeah, and I like to kind of think like, hey, projects don't often just get started on the inside. And so like getting used to this information and accessibility with these insights outside of the building, and then like you just come to expect it once you get inside, and you're like going up through structure, you've gone through all these reports that have shown all these elements in your sleeve that are being built, and it's like, okay, like you've kind of showed me what I can do with this now. Like we're going to keep building this, and we're going to keep, putting in these elements inside the building, and you should just come to expect that as well. And that's what I get super excited about with this stuff, because this truly is like, there's so much information here. And James, I know you got a lot to say here, but again, like walking folks through these terms, what they mean, how we're kind of approaching this, and yeah, what would you add here, James?
Okay, so well, two things. One great thing for us is that we're using a very similar set of models and stuff under the hood, machine learning techniques, to deliver these kinds of insights and this kind of understanding as we're using on the exterior side. So we're able to reuse that side of the expertise. But the other part is really we have the right people. We've over the last few years, we've been hiring amazing subject matter experts from industry, people like yourself, Grant, and folks who've project managed huge construction projects, who run as supers on these projects, who have been VDC managers or directors, people who really understand the value delivery side. And for me, as a product person, that's what we're building, right? That's what we're building for, is providing value to those individuals and getting the unique and very close relationship with our customers, which helps us get to insights that are valuable. So, I think you always have to have those two things together, right? You need the technology, but you also need to understand the value proposition and the industry and the people that you're trying to help.
Yeah. Nick, anything you want to add just as we kind of turn the corner here?
I think with all these ML and AI products, the way that we think about them is that these products are going to walk side by side with our customers all the way through the construction project, from earthworks, exterior, interior, all the way through closeout. And you're seeing the first of these products. There are going to be many more coming, and they're just going to support that whole process in one piece of software. So again, it's more intelligence. It's more of the value of a one unified platform all the way through the project, exterior, interior. That's just going to be super powerful and super compelling. And I think this is really turning these job sites into the job sites of the future, where they are automated, they are unified, and they are intelligent, which is just so exciting to see.
Yeah. 2023 has been a crazy year, and we've had just a ton of fun learning about some of this stuff. And we want to kind of open it up to some questions here for you guys that are tuning in with us. And yeah, just really want to give you guys an opportunity to give some thoughts and really provide us some insight from things that you guys are curious about. So we're going to use that tool again. If you hadn't signed or scanned that QR code, please do that. The cool part about this Q&A is you can actually vote on questions. And so, guys, I'm going to do this live here where some of these questions come in. And
I was going to say, should I be pulling my phone up here and trying to scan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to switch my tab back. If you guys are interested in the audience, would love to see your questions come through. Or if you see a really good question, be sure to upvote it and put it in here. As I think I maybe need to move this slide here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, so that should open up. Go ahead. If you didn't scan that QR code, you can see up here at the top, menti.com. And there's a 637-31207. So these questions will pop up here. And as they come in, I'll kind of toss a couple over to you guys as well. But I'm just curious, I guess, Nick, maybe this first one for you is like, what so much has changed in just 6 months. And so like, what is realistic in the next 12 months? Like, give us kind of some insight of like, all right, the pace of this stuff and how fast it changes is truly just like ridiculous. And so, yeah, just curious to maybe kind of hear your thoughts around that too.
Yeah, I think what's important from our customers' point of view is to understand that we've been watching this really closely, and we've been working on machine learning stuff internally for many years. So we were ready to pounce as soon as we kind of hit this step change in what capabilities were available. And we're going to keep investing here. Like, I think we want our customers to be able to trust that by using DroneDeploy, they're going to constantly have access to the latest and greatest capabilities on the machine learning side that's really going to empower their job sites. And it's our task to make that a reality. And you're seeing only the tip of the iceberg here with these custom machine learning models and the 2 automated reports. But there's going to be a ton more coming next quarter and Q4. And then 2024, probably double that again. And we're just going to keep going. It's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, well said. We got a couple questions coming in here. I'm learning this tool along with you guys. So we got a couple in here. Just, hey, when does it become available and what is the cost? James, I know you can touch on this, and there's some additional links in the comments as well.
Very, very simple. We are already working with 3 different customers on the solar side of things. And if you would like to be one of them, you can sign up for a trial and move in that way. Or if you're already engaged with DroneDeploy, just ask your DroneDeploy rep and they'll be able to help you out. If you're having trouble, reach out to any of us on LinkedIn and we'll be able to put you in touch with the right person. But that's already available. It's something that you can start to deploy very quickly on your projects.
Cool. We got a couple more coming in here. Good question here. What's a good place for a construction company with a little automation to start using these tools? Man, that's a... Yeah, I can maybe take a little bit of that and then hand it to you, Nick, or James. But I think a good place to start, this quote is always just stuck with us, is like, start simply start. Don't overthink these things. I think a lot of us are, super excited about this stuff and it has a lot of upside, but really just start simply. I think that's something that we kind of overlook sometimes is like, hey, you don't have to go change your whole concrete, structure and schedule and all these different things. Like, just try it once, try it twice, kind of get into it and see what value comes out of that report. And oftentimes too, like, I think you're going to find that the more that you collaborate and share that with other people, it gets really exciting too. Cause some of the ideas that come up from it of like, oh man, well, can we do this in other areas? Or can we apply some of this machine learning for things that I've been wanting to count for people that cars are parked in the parking lot? Like, maybe that's a way that you are interested in tracking some different things. Like, there's just a lot of opportunity when you start to collaborate with other folks on your team, but like, start simply start. Don't overthink it. Get some of these reports in your hands and in the hands of your project teams. But James, any thoughts you'd add to that question?
A couple of things. It's not exactly clear what this person's referring to, but we talked about a lot of stuff here. But if you're getting started with drones and DroneDeploy, speak to our team. We have a bunch of experts who can help you just go through that journey. We've taken so many companies through that journey, and we'd love to be of assistance. We've got a lot of resources. We have something called the DroneDeploy Academy as well, which can teach you about that. It's on the AI side of things. For me in my personal life, just to keep up with this, I started to sign up to some of these tools. So there's ChatGPT. You can sign up to that very easily. You can start chatting with a robot and see what that's like, asking it questions and getting it to do little bits of work for you. There's also something called Midjourney, which allows you to create imagery and a lot of folks I know who are secretly artists on the side, really enjoying working on that and creating the most amazing images that you can't believe are made by machines. And then in terms of the tools in Drone Deploy, like I said, our goal is to make these super accessible. In fact, one of the things that we'll be doing for the next 6 months is, as we roll out, particularly the AI counting, the AI area and volume annotation tools, we'll be doing that on a very broad basis during the beta program. So we're trying to make it so that everyone can see the kind of power that's available. And we'll also be taking requests from customers about new machine learning models that we should train, because we can move really fast on that. We'll have about 10 models when we first release that, but we've had all kinds of cool ideas around safety models for detecting safety issues on construction sites, alongside many, many more.
Love it. We got an upvote for a question, so that means it's a good one, and one that we need to kind of look into here. Let me see if I can find it.
I'll do that previous one while you find it. Yes, okay. We're going to get more granular on the utility solar reports, stuff like tracker motors, tracker arms, junction boxes. We've just started with a few categories, but that report is going to continue to improve, continue to get better. And it doesn't preclude us going back and recreating those reports with the new categories and the finer grained object tracking in the future.
Cool. This was our upvoted question. How do you validate some of the results here? Maybe that was sent in by me, but no, I'm not taking credit for that. That's a good question. So yeah, maybe Nick.
Yeah.
Take that one.
Yeah, I think the important thing to understand here is a lot of the validation happens while these models are created. In the process of actually creating and training these models, we need humans looking at the results and verifying that the data that we're creating to train the models and the results that the models are creating is valid and is accurate. And we're only going to put out models that we really, really trust the output of. So during the process of creating the models, that's when a lot of the validation happens. But at the same time, having these models running in production and running for our customers, we are constantly monitoring the results. And we have a human in the loop team whose responsibility is continuing to assess what these models are producing and how the results are appearing in Drone Deploy and validating them. So we don't just put out a model and then forget about it. Those models are constantly improved, they're constantly retrained, and they're constantly validated against new data to make sure that what our customers are getting, they can trust.
Love it.
Yeah, you can think of these machine learning models as a smart person on your team. You trust them, but you check their results, right? And if you're giving them a task that you've never given them before, you really look closely. So and that's how we deal with this whole situation.
Yeah, well said. Some great questions in there. One, again, for the audience, thank you guys for putting those in. This is just kind of a fun way for us to try to engage with you guys and answer really the questions that you have. So one thing, let me bring it back up here before we let you guys go, are just a few things to kind of note as we wrap up our time here. Again, we hope this was a really helpful conversation for you guys that have been tuning in. Thank you again for the questions. We did mention this a little bit earlier, but just additional opportunities to learn about this. There are 2 webinars that are going to be hosted here in a week or so around these 2 reports specifically. So diving into all the details around what it looks like, how you can get insights from them, how you can start, which were a lot of the questions that we had here today. And then a few other things that we wanted to note too, because we really love these conversations. We love these questions. And we know that oftentimes some of those can happen the most and most effectively in person. And so we do have our user conference that's going to be coming up here in October. If you guys would love to join us for that, it'll be out in the Denver area. And then we also are doing something kind of fun too with what we're calling Reality Capture Live, which is really conversations just like this, where we bring in experts, which clearly we brought in too today, which is super fun, just around this topic of AI and what that looks like within our product. So we hope that you guys are excited about these 2 opportunities that will continue to come up around the corner too. So one, thank you. This has been really fun. This has been a really encouraging conversation. We hope that you guys took some really fun parts away from it. Nick, James, thank you guys for making this a really fun conversation too. It's really cool. Again, you guys not only have the best accents, but are clearly the smartest people in the room when you 2 are here. And so I appreciate your guys' time. Thanks for taking these questions. And for all those that are tuning in with us here on LinkedIn Live, thank you guys again. We will put out some more resources here right after in the comments section for you guys to check out. But until then, have a great rest of the week, and we will see you guys soon. Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Grant.